And I want to welcome Jana York to our event tonight, turning overwhelm into opportunity. It is October. When you're in education, you might be familiar with the fact that October is the longest month of the year, that joy and excitement from the beginning of the school year is starting to wane. Those longer holidays in November and December. Barbara, attendance link. Yes, let me give you that credit. There's a link here really quick. So those attending for COSM credit, I'm going to copy this here in the, nope, I copied the wrong one. Yes, you're welcome. As soon as I can pull, I copied it earlier, so I had it right here. Okay, there we go. And you can click on that link and log your hours in COSM. So as I was saying, longest month of the year, those holidays in November, December seem like they are light years away. And so I thought having a conversation around turning overwhelm into opportunity would be a really great time well spent. And so I want to introduce Jana here really quickly. Jana is a certified mindfulness and meditation teacher and has been a mindfulness practitioner and children's mindfulness educator for more than a decade at international schools in Thailand and Japan. Her main passion is teaching children how to reduce anxiety and self-regulate while being in the present moment. So I'm wearing cats. I'm going to allow people to come in. I'm introducing Jana, and I'm staying grounded in my feet as we're doing all of this, trying to be present. We're doing it. She is the author of You is for Understanding, Claire's Journey Toward Mindfulness, a storytelling approach based on an 8-year-old's journey of learning mindfulness in her school. The book contains more than 30 activities to introduce mindfulness, social and emotional learning, self-regulation, and gratitude. The first 3 chapters of You is for Understanding, and 3 of the activities are available for free on YouTube. Jana, maybe later on you can drop that YouTube link. I don't know if you don't have it handy. We'll get it in the link to you guys for sure. She is also a special contributor along with Dr. Amanita Beckstein of Teaching Mindfulness, a guidebook for teachers, parents, counselors, and caregivers. And of course, she's also featured in the COSM book, Educating Mindfully, Stories of School Transformation Through Mindfulness. Jana, welcome. I'm really excited to have you at our event this evening.
Thanks, Cynthia. It's so good to be here, and you're going to be doing a lot of different things, so I hope you don't get overwhelmed today.
We'll practice it in the moment. That's the best, right? Yeah.
Yes. I think that's a great way to start out. If the participants don't mind, we'll just do a quick little check-in.
I would love that. I
Okay,
think thumbs up. I mean, I think a little mindful check-in, we would all benefit from that before we dive right in.
Yeah, we often have to be told to do it, so let's do it for just 3 to 5 minutes. So I just invite you to get into a comfortable position, whatever that looks and feels like for you. Feet flat on the floor, preferably. Anything that you need to loosen up, get some tension out, and as you feel comfortable, maybe drawing your gaze downward or close your eyes if that's comfortable. If not, that's perfectly fine too. I want to make this little practice one of self-care and self-love, self-gratitude. So we'll just begin by checking in, noticing our thoughts. Too often we try to push the thoughts away, but it's important to allow them to come into our being right now. You don't need to grab onto the thought. Just observe it. There's probably a lot going through your mind right now. So allow yourself a moment here just to observe your thoughts. You can see them like the clouds, passing by in the sky, or maybe even like a leaf flowing down a river. Now, if we can just let those thoughts pass on by, and let's check in with our breath. The breath is so important in meditation and mindfulness. No specific way to breathe right now. Just noticing that you're breathing. Noticing the inhale and the exhale. Right now, there's nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just breathe. Each time that your mind will start to wander off, it's okay. That's normal. Just bring it back to the breath. And now, checking in with your body. Maybe noticing any sensations that you might be feeling, any tension, any tingling, warmth, coolness. Just noticing the body. See if you can use your breath to breathe into those areas that might need some attention. And if you're feeling good, that's great. Just noticing. And now, because this is a little self-care, I want to give you some words, a little mantra for you, especially honoring this busy month. I want you to know 3 things. You can say them to yourself quietly, or what other words you want to use. I am human. I am loved. I am enough. I am human. I am loved. I am enough. So we'll just stay there for a few more moments. Okay, our mindfulness practice will soon be complete, but give yourself some gratitude for taking the time to pause. It truly is an act of self-care. Whenever you feel ready, come back to the larger space. Wiggle your hands and feet and open your eyes.
Thank you for that.
You're
It's great
welcome.
to start in that grounded, present space.
Yeah, it's so important.
So in this grounded and present space that we're in, oftentimes, whether we're in education, parenting, living life in the day and age here in 2022, there's a lot going on. I was having a conversation with a fellow colleague educator the other day, and we were talking about how it's very hard in a system, and system meaning in our education system, that is do more, be more, get this done. There are 1,000 things to do. How do we slow down? How are we mindful in such a huge system coming our way? And we're feeling overwhelmed. How do we shift that overwhelm into an opportunity to slow down? What are some initial first steps that we could take?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. We can all acknowledge that, and we've all felt this overwhelm from time to time. And sometimes overwhelm is good. You might feel like you're overwhelmed with joy. Some event or something might have happened. But I think what is important as a first step is to understand what happens when you become overwhelmed, and both in the mind and the body. And so maybe this will be something that will help you attune to what's going on. But first of all, it's a surge of emotions. Everything's coming at you at once, right? We know that's what overwhelm means. It's chaos. But what happens in the body, like in the mind, have you ever noticed when you become overwhelmed, you're so forgetful? You can't remember stuff. You put your keys in the refrigerator. Where are my keys? They're in the refrigerator. You have this brain fog. You can't think clearly. So
or you freeze. Like oftentimes I might, like, I'm staring at my computer wondering, I know I have to be doing something, but I don't know what that is.
Right. And I like just what you did is you laughed, because I'm going to talk more about laughter. I think it's a good release. But yeah, so that's what's happening in the mind. But in the physiological part of the body, it's wreaking havoc. And it's really important to know that, because your sympathetic nervous system, that's the fight, flight, or freeze, it's going crazy. And you may notice like your heart rate might go up, your blood pressure could even go up, your respiration is shallow, so you're not breathing as deeply as you should be. There's your hands might tingle, you might feel tension. So all these things are happening in the physiological sense, and also all this brain fog going on. So it's overwhelm is something that needs to be attended to. And I'm really emphatic about that. You have to, it's okay to be there for a little bit, but you've got to do something to soothe and calm yourself, because it's a high state of anxiety, actually. So I want to go over, if we can do the slide, maybe I'll go over some things that can,
let me pull up this.
I just put some ideas together of what you might want to do. And what you need to know is you need to make a list prior to yourself going through overwhelm, because when you're overwhelmed, you're not going to be able to think straight. So if we can just look at some of these things, and I'd love to hear, what things you guys might be doing as well. So as she's getting that ready, I made it into an acronym. I use SMILE because SMILE is important, right? So the first one is soothe. So when you're going through overwhelm, you need to have something in your toolkit. What can I do to soothe myself? That might be, and maybe you can't do it right at that moment, because I'm gonna suggest that you take a hot bath that night, or you get a massage. And so, you might not be able to do when overwhelm's happening right now, but it's something that you'll do as a self-care thing later on, because you need to check back in with yourself and do something. Simplify. It's super hard, super easy to say, super hard to do. But if there's any things that you can, put off to the side, and maybe your lesson plan has got lots and lots of moving parts, and maybe you can just pick one or two of those that you can go through. As a parent, maybe you've got a lot of activities going on with the kids. Maybe you can try to, work with them and eliminate some of the activities, but it really requires things to be simplified until you can get back into your parasympathetic state, that rest and digest state. So it's self-care, and that's exactly what we're talking about today. I find that movement is very important when you're feeling overwhelmed. And I don't mean to go out and run a marathon, or, do a yoga class, just any kind of light movement that you can do. Because what happens to get out of your head, you need to get into your body. So if you can do something that's sensing, or something that you can feel in your body, it's going to help clear your mind a little bit. So I think that one's really, really important. And if you're teaching, maybe, and you're feeling overwhelmed, or maybe the kids are feeling overwhelmed, maybe you can stop and do a few little activities, something really simple and easy.
Jana, I want to pause really quick, because you said some awesome things under the S in this acronym for SMILE. I love the acronym. And even just going back before that, I think number one, and I want to underscore this, is that the overwhelm is one, you become aware of what the signs are for you when you're in an overwhelmed state. That could be my heart is beating faster. That could be that I'm frozen. I can't process any more information, staring at my computer screen, and I don't know what to do next, or misplacing things. Like you said, with the keys in the refrigerator. These might be signs that that you are in overwhelm, right?
Mhm.
Or sometimes you may be, you might be talking really fast, excuse me. So just knowing personally what those signs are. And I had this conversation going back to the S in simplify with a colleague today. We talked about how important routine is in our day, but oftentimes being in an education environment, sometimes you have to be in this happy adaptability and flexibility mode. And so if routine really helps reduce your anxiety and helps have some control over that overwhelm that you might feel from time to time, oftentimes when that routine shifts, we feel like it's hard to function because we're thinking about all the things that we're not able to do. And so you had said something under simplify, and I want to underscore this because it's really important, is that you can only do what you can do in that moment. Put your feet on the ground and just know, what do I have to do? Do I have, and start naming it. Put 2 minutes on the timer. We're going to do this activity. If, like anything else that you thought you were going to do an hour from that point forward, or just, you've got to shift that and just go with each moment. So I wanted to really underscore that.
Yeah.
It's a super powerful tool. And thank you for allowing me to interject here really quickly before we moved forward.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. And because I'm not a full-time teacher now, I'm in a retirement state. So I keep up with all my colleagues, and I'm kind of like their coach sometimes, because they're always like, there's never enough time. And even when I'm trying to promote mindfulness, I have so many people say, I don't have time. I don't have time. Well, we just spent, 4 minutes doing a little meditation, and that's mindfulness. It doesn't have to be something huge, but yeah, I think that it's really important to take a closer look at what you're doing and what you can do. And then let's see, what interests you. I know this is hard, but you need to try to find things that are not in parenting and not in teaching. If you can find something that interests you and afford a little bit of time to that, that's going to help you grow, and that's going to help you not think so much about all the things that you're working towards. What, I don't know what it might be. It might be a hobby or reading or something that soothes you, but you got to take care of yourself, right? This is all about self-care. My talk here is what interests you. Keep those interests open, because sooner or later your work's going to be done, and what are you going to be left at? You're going to say something, yes, Athea?
Yeah, I was going to say, when I think about this I in the acronym, what interests you, I think about a state of overwhelm, perhaps, that's going on for more than just a moment or, throughout that day. It's a collection of moments that have been added together, and you realize, wow, I really need to slow down, and I really need to carve out this time to be with myself, because I've been giving in all these other spaces. So when I hear that, that's what I'm hearing. And I feel that that's super powerful. One thing that I do from time to time in those states of overwhelm is just mindful art, whether it's a Zentangle or coloring mandalas. I just personally find it very soothing. I don't have to think much about what I'm doing other than coloring in the lines and choosing a color. It's very simple, but it's something that I know that I'm allowing that inner child to be ignited a little bit, bringing that joy factor back. So that's just something that came to my mind, and I wanted to throw that out there, because oftentimes, or when if we're looking at that, I think what you're saying, it's sometimes in that moment, we're not going to do the thing that we're interested in doing. We have to get through, we have to stay in the challenge. We are mindfully trying to stay through that challenge, building our emotional resilience and mental fortitude, but yet also like reflecting through and saying, you know what, if it keeps happening, I perhaps need to carve out some time in the evening or on the weekend and reignite that inner child.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And we got to convince others to do that. But so, and then the other thing is the intervention of others. And what I mean by that is, maybe things are going great, or you've got a handle on it. Like Athea, you've got these ideas, you're on the right track. So, but what if you see your colleague and they're just, yeah, and they're angry and they're really quick to, to snip at people and things that, so, overwhelm, anxiety, stress is going on. So if you can intervene with that other person by just offering a smile, offering to say, hey, I think things are going really tough. I can see that. I'll have some time later if you want to sit around and talk about it. People want to be heard. So if you can have that intervention with others, in an opportune moment, then that's going to be helpful to them as well. I'm thinking ahead of myself a little bit, but and I'll save that for a minute. But the other thing is setting an intention every morning when you get up. And I don't mean a goal. Your intention might just to be, in between my classes, I'm going to take 5 breaths. Okay. Or, I'm going to make myself a really good lunch. So I'm not just eating carrots every day for lunch, whatever your intention is for that day. That gives you kind of on the right track.
Yeah.
So to speak. And then the inner child you also mentioned, it's so important to be playful, to be curious. Curious is a really big part of mindfulness. And if you can remain curious, a lot of these overwhelming things won't dig so deep and become something of rumination or catastrophizing. That's one of the problems that I see, is that we get so stuck in the past. I should have done it this way. I should have done it that way. Or we go into the future and say, I'm never going to get any of this stuff done. So that's a little bit ahead of myself too, but I wanted to make sure I got that point in there, is, trying to find your inner child, to be present. We already said laughter, looking at your habits, specifically sleep. I mean, we need our sleep. And I can venture to guess that there's a lot of parents and a lot of teachers that aren't getting enough sleep. So that might be something that you're going to add to your self-care list, even if you have to take naps, whatever you can do to try to get as much rest as you can.
What I'm hearing too with all of this, Jana, is that it's not that so it's all the things out here, the things that feel chaotic, the things that are they're the trigger within us, that we are feeling that overwhelm inside. So we see the chaos in the outside world, we feel the chaos within, and we're not saying, and you're not saying that's the stuff on the outside will change. It's how we relate to what is happening. That is the big difference. It's
Absolutely.
Not that we're going to control every single thing in the environment, but what we can control is how we're doing internally, checking in and shifting how we relate to the things coming our way.
Right. Absolutely. And I think the pandemic is one thing that we've come to realize, that we're going to have overwhelm. You can't, it's inevitable. It's going to be around, but it's how we can respond to that.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what I'm speaking to here with this kind of list. And this is just some samples. I hope that you'll come up with your own ideas. Letting go. You can't be all things to all people. So you need
That's
to
a
let
big
something.
one.
Yeah, don't raise your hand every time to volunteer. I know you want to be helpful and you feel that everyone needs you to be helpful, but you've got to be able to take care of your things first. So maybe just letting go of some stuff might help. Love what you do and do what you love. And I hate to say this, but I see so many teachers with burnout right now. And if it's not working, you need to have a plan, but you need to look, maybe you just need to change the grade level that you're teaching, or maybe some classes that you don't have to teach and somebody else can pick up. But if it's becoming too much, there's a lot to life. And if it's not working, then you need to really sit some time and think about that. I've had teacher friends that they have quit their jobs and they've started their own businesses, and they're just so much better off. And I don't want the teachers to quit, because we need you so much, but it's something that you really need to consider.
I think that letting go piece is really powerful. And when I hear that, it makes me think about boundaries, which is a big topic, and definitely a separate, event maybe we can have in the future. But just to underscore that too, is that letting go is understanding, in a sense, that being really confident in what you can say yes to and what you can say no to. And I think sometimes that takes the curiosity, right? I like to call it like being our own scientists, because we are in that sense, and reflecting about, and oftentimes this is a daily reflection of what worked and what didn't. How did I feel today? And why did I feel so great or not so great? What was it that I said yes to and I said no to that helped me get into that state that I want more of?
Right, right, absolutely. And that kind of leads me right into what expression, you need, if you're good at journaling, writing it down, especially if you're thinking about making some kind of change, writing the pros and cons, but somehow expressing yourself, whether it's journaling, a trusted friend. If you can find a trusted friend that has the time and they will sit down and talk. It's so much better to me if you can talk things out.
Yeah.
What was overwhelming you? Why, how can we make it different? Let's do something so we can, avoid this in the future. But it's so I don't know. I just feel in my heart the kindness when people, offer to listen to my story or something. And you can do that yourself, or you need to reach out and do that to others. So
Yes, you don't feel alone, because
right.
so many of us are navigating overwhelm in our own unique ways. So I love the suggestion of expression. And sometimes I think the hard part about that is depending on the spaces that we're in, sometimes that's easier than, it sounds easy just as a thing to do, but sometimes just the culture in where we are, maybe that can be a little bit more difficult. And so I think it's really, that's where I think like relationship building and knowing who you're aligned with, right?
Right.
And using that as your support network when these moments of overwhelm do happen. So getting that, being able to talk sometimes just can clear the space and you feel much better after.
Right.
Afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I've recently just joined some different mindfulness groups. Okay. Just to, those are my people. That's where I feel comfortable, is when talking about mindfulness. But it's really been interesting because it turns into like a self-care thing. People start talking about, what their situations are, and they're looking for a little bit of advice, and, we'll do some meditation, but we're actually, helping each other out. And I never thought I'd be a person that would say, like, I'm going to go get on a Zoom call just to talk to people. But, since so much has changed in our worlds, and, we're maybe not able to be out in groups as much, or we've chosen not to be out in those groups now. Now it's safe to go outside and people still aren't going outside. So I think these Zoom calls, whatever your interests are there, I found them to be very helpful and very, very good about being able to open up to other people and trust, learning how to trust other people and having them trust you as well. So, yeah. And then the last one is just experiencing the present moment with full attention, because, there's this fallacy about multitasking and people think I can go from one task to another. And, my belief is that it's attention shifting. And so you can't do two things at once. You have to shift your attention. It can go very, very quickly, but it's exhausting if you're trying to do multiple tasks at once, because the brain can't figure it out. It has to go to here, go to there. Like I said, it can do it very fast, very quickly, but over time, it's an energy zapper. So if you can try to be more present, try to attend to one thing at a time, and it's more joyful, in my opinion, if you're really enjoying the present moment, sitting outside and just listening to the birds, using your senses. That didn't cost any money. It didn't cost a whole lot of time, but it helped grounded me and brought me to the present. I especially like it with cooking. Just cutting up the vegetables, smelling them, making the task of having to make a meal and make it into something with your full attention and a little bit more joyful. So
yeah, I think thank you so much. These are awesome tools and a great acronym reminding us to smile in those very
yes,
overwhelming, hard moments. Given this and knowing that as a teacher, as a parent, how can we help our young people navigate overwhelm? What are a couple of things that you can share with us that perhaps we could use with our students to help them understand overwhelm themselves and how to navigate that in a more healthy way?
Right. I think with children, it's, giving them the tools that they need, and modeling it too. Oftentimes a teacher may, just be at her wit's end and, have an outburst where, you can really be, as a teacher or parent, you can really model to the kids, I'm having a moment right now. I need to stop and take a few breaths. I'll share a quick story if I can. I was speaking with a colleague the other day, and she just got her mindfulness teaching for in the classroom. She just got her certification. So she was sharing one of her experiences. She hadn't done any of these exercises, different grounding exercises, and a child was becoming overwhelmed, and she noticed that, and she became nervous herself because
what was the child doing?
She didn't really say what was
Okay, I was
going
just
on.
curious. Yeah.
She just shared that
Mhm.
I could sense she was about to
Okay.
flip her lid.
Okay.
So she pulled her aside. This is a fairly new teacher. So she
Okay.
pulled her aside and said, okay, and this will be one of the activities I'll show. We're going to do finger breathing. And if you know this activity, you just inhale and trace your finger and then exhale down. So you're just inhaling and exhaling. We can do that a few times. Inhaling and exhaling. And it's a simple activity, but what she did is she pulled the child aside and she says, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this exercise. And she said, as the child started breathing, you could just see the transformation in the child. She started relaxing, and therefore the teacher started relaxing. So what they were doing is called co-regulation. So she was helping the child, and the child was responding and helping the teacher as well. So, finger breathing is an excellent activity. And, it just shows you how something small and simple, she saw what was about to happen. She was able to come into the situation and try to help it before it escalated to something worse. So that's finger breathing is really, really good for an activity for children. I'm really into the sensing part. And again, as I said, to get out of your head, you need to get in your body. And what I need other than movement is using all your senses. So there's an activity called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's 5. You take 5 things that you can see, and you just look around the room and find 5 things.
Yeah.
Right? That's your
and
focus.
Kids love that,
Yes.
around, what can I name?
Right. It takes you into that calm. And then, the hearing, 4 things you can hear, things that you can smell, things that you can touch and taste. And I think that's what the activity that I'm giving is. It's a gratitude. It's a scavenger hunt, but it's about using your senses. And I actually have one little prop that I want to show for teachers. Yeah. You can see this, right? It's just a paper towel roll or toilet paper roll. But you could give this to the child. Maybe it's a craft or an activity that you can do. And this is how you use your senses. So you're using it, by looking, really getting more to focus, or maybe you can use it to listen, or if there's a smell, you can go to the smell. But having the kids make these and talk about, what the purpose of, they're going to take it. Maybe they'll only play with it for one day, but they'll take it home and use it as their sensing activity. So this has been really a good activity that I've done with kids, and it's easy to do, and you can color it. I just put different colored tape on it, but it becomes like a toy,
Yeah, and just save those toilet paper rolls or ask others to do that. Yeah, that's
right.
fun. I actually, you mentioned the freebie. Can I go ahead and put those links in the chat?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Let me stop this screen share so I can share those links. Jana has shared a couple of free activities for those that are here today. Let me make sure. Yes, I think this is the first link I put. It has both. I'm going to put this link in the chat. Oh, I just direct messaged it by accident. Sorry, Barbara. Let me try that again to everyone in the meeting. Okay.
Just don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, if you click that link, it will open up a folder that has 2 PDF documents. One is it's a scavenger hunt, and one is a gratitude exercise. Am I correct?
Yeah, a scavenger. Oh, actually, the other one I think is how to make a stress ball.
Oh, so it's a gratitude scavenger hunt and how to make a stress ball. That's right. Very fun activities. And you just shared another one with us. So that's really awesome. I want to open up the floor for questions, if that's okay. Just share that link. I think that's the correct link. I put it in a Google Drive folder. Has anybody, I can double check to make sure that's the right one. Open it up on my end. Yeah, that is the correct one. You have the gratitude scavenger hunt and how to make a stress ball. Fun times. And so I want to open up the floor to any questions, any wonderings, anything you would love to ask about Overwhelm and changing our relationship to it. You can do a hand raise, you can use the emoji hand raise, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Also, if you have any questions, just maybe you've tried some things and maybe you're struggling with some things in the classroom or just trying things at home personally, now's a great opportunity to ask those questions as well. No? Okay. Well, if you think of a question, we can pause, but at the last few minutes, Jana, do you want to maybe do a quick mindful closeout? Is there, maybe we started with a little grounding practice, maybe take us out with we could do something very similarly. You can mention if you want to take a moment and talk just a little bit about your book, The U is for Understanding. And if, you would like to add this book, this awesome book, and build your library with more mindfulness resources. Jana, go ahead and let us know about U is for Understanding.
Right. Yeah. Let me just get this part, talk about that for a minute, and then I'll share a little bit of a gratitude thing that we can talk about. But there's actually, like, this is the book that I wrote, and I wrote this during the pandemic, believe it or not. And this was my whole story, actually, because I was overwhelmed. I was living in Thailand and I didn't speak the language, and there was just a lot of fear and concern, and I couldn't figure out, how to get myself out of that state. But I did a lot of different practices similar to, or I used a lot of the self-care. And eventually I got to the point where I could focus and I could write. So this is Overwhelm turned into an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to write because I couldn't leave the house basically for a while. We were locked down and we couldn't do so. But this is a story about an 8-year-old girl who's learning about mindfulness in her school. And it's a storytelling approach, and her teacher, Miss Sage, helps them to learn about mindfulness one breath at a time. So, and a lot of these things in this book actually happened. This is based on my experience of teaching. So it's kind of a fun way, storytelling sparks imagination. So I think it's something good. It's really very well illustrated. I've worked with the artist, and she did all these are in watercolor. So I'm very, and it's in large print. I'm very proud of what she's done with it. So it's on Kindle, it's on all different things, and I also have activities that go along with the book as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this book, because this is, part of the reason I was invited to come on this was to talk about, the curriculum. So this book is a collaboration with Dr. Eminetta Beckstein, and he's a positive psychologist and has brought a lot to this book. So I'm very, very grateful that we were able to collaborate on this. But what we did is we said, teachers don't have time, so let's write a curriculum that's really simple and easy. So the activities in here, 5 minutes a day, you can do it. It's set up like lesson plans, and then it has critical thinking skills. It has personal reflections along with worksheets and activities. So just came out a couple months ago, and a huge shout out to the book publishing company, because they've been just a joy to work with. They've been very, very helpful. They helped us get it all, organized in a really nice and easy to see format. So very simplistic, but yet very powerful for kids. So thanks for letting me share, those two resources. And hopefully, if you're interested in learning more about mindfulness, you'll find something like this or something that's helpful. That's kind of what I'm curious about, is if anybody in the group does any mindfulness activities in their teachings or in their own life. I'm just curious if you want to answer. If you don't want to answer, it's okay too.
Would anybody like to share, perhaps, if you're practicing some of the things in your classrooms or at home? Okay. I did put the names of those two books. U is for Understanding, Claire's Journey Toward Mindfulness, in the chat, and Teaching Mindfulness. So if you would like to check out those resources, those are the names of those two resources. Hopefully you got the link to the two freebies. And if you need to log your time, I put that link in there earlier as well. Elizabeth says she's been practicing.
Awesome. That's great.
And how's it going? How's it going with your students? It's always nice to hear other perspectives and other experiences. If you don't mind sharing, I think some of the things I can share. I am a mindfulness leader and culture fellow at my school. I've been doing this work for 10 plus years. And one of the things that I'm hearing from educators at my current school is that it's a mindset shift to see that the mindfulness practices are worth it. So they're shifting from I don't have time, from, oh, wow, this few minutes that I am doing it, it's making a huge impact for me and how I'm showing up in the class. And then I'm noticing that students, and this is hearing from other educators that are taking on these practices in their classes, the other students, if I forget to do maybe a mindful moment at the beginning of class before we dive into our lesson, they remind me to do it and they ask me. So, and we're looking at middle school students, which is also can be seen as a little more prickly age in terms of connecting mindfulness to. So I love getting that feedback from educators that I see taking these practices, practicing with students in class, beginning stage with them. Awesome. Well, Barbara, keep on. I want to encourage Elizabeth, you to keep that intention, to keep that practice going. I think part of the process, I will say, as we wind down our time, that those struggles will appear. Part of the practice is that resistance will come up, and that is a teacher. And so resistance will come up for yourself. Resistance will come up in your students, that this doesn't matter. Why is this, like, I don't care. This is boring. This makes no difference. Especially if you're working with middle school kiddos and older kiddos. Usually with the younger ones with primary age, many of them are really excited. They're still in that age of like being really excited about learning, and they connect to the practices really well. Middle school, when you're going through that identity development, really learning about who you are, you're gaining more self-awareness, there may be a little bit more resistance. And I think, my biggest tip in that is just being honest in your own journey with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sharing what you thought about it and how you've struggled with it and why it matters and what it's done for you can make a big difference for other kiddos. Because as these seeds are planted, they do bloom, and I've seen it for years in some of the most resistant students who swore they would never, ever slow down and take a mindful breath. And it turned out that they were teaching their fellow classmates at the end of the school year these practices and why they were important. So do carry on the practices as you can. And know that when you meet that struggle, that you're not alone, and that your work and your voice and your breath makes a massive difference. And what I like to say, making the world a few shades brighter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jana, for your time, for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your resources. Yes, love the SMILE acronym. Vanessa said she loves that. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Don't forget to get those links, have your freebies. And Jana, thank you so much. And everybody have a wonderful Thursday evening.
Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.